relatives were very religious, and the people around us were very religious. I usually say they were very religious or very hypocritical, because if they wasn't religious, they seemed to act a part, you see. And I was ashamed, man, to sing anything other than spirituals around home. In fact, I'd probably get whipped. For the Army, I was a spiritual singer, see. But when I went in the Army, I started singing blues. And I think most guys do. I'm not a very hard guy to get along with as long as they play. But if I was going to think about hiring a musician, I usually think of it in terms of this. About 75% man first, you know, gentleman, and 25% musician. Because I feel that in times that if you get to be 50-50, then this is good. But if he's just a good guy, I can tolerate the other part. The late Sonny Boy, the second Sonny Boy Williamson, was not a disc jockey, but he was on the radio in West Memphis, Arkansas. West Memphis, for all the people that are not familiar, is divided by the Mississippi River from Memphis, Tennessee. And West Memphis is in Arkansas. So I'd heard about Sonny Boy being on this radio station, and I went over there. So it happened that day that he put me on the air, let me sing one song. And that night he had 2 jobs to play. One of them he didn't want because it didn't pay much money. So he called the lady and asked the lady that he was supposed to play for, did she hear the program? She said, yes. He said, I advertised your place. She said, I heard. He said, well, how'd you like the boy singing? She said, I liked him very much. He said, well, I'm thinking about letting him play for me tonight at your place, and I'll see you next week. So she said, fine. So I went over there, man, and they paid me $12, 12 American dollars. That's a lot of bread, you know, for a guy that'd been making, you know, like 35 cents, 100 picking cotton, you know, 75 cents a day. Now, my job was to entertain the ladies while the fellas go in the back and wage. They had somewhat of a gambling casino in the back, and my job was to entertain all the ladies, because the fellas would leave the ladies in front, you see. And that was a beautiful job. I loved that, you know. And I didn't want to lose it. So I heard about this new radio station that was just starting there in Memphis. And it was the first black-operated station that I know about in the States, especially down south. So I went over there that evening. I got wet trying to get to the station because I didn't have any money. So I was walking with my guitar on my back, so I walk up to the station, and I had this big picture glass window, and you can see the disc jockey from the streets. So I walked and I tapped on the window, and he came to the door, and he says, what can I do for you, young fella? I said, well, I would like to make a record, and I'd like to go on the radio. So he said, one of them we might be able to do. I would think that Blind Lemon played like you play classical guitar, flamenco style, something like that, you know, with his fingers. Maybe a thumb pick. I never did see him, so I'm just figuring this by listening to him. But I would think that something like that. Lucille is not really used to this, Lucille. Blind Lemon would sound something like... something like that. Lonnie Johnson was altogether different. Lonnie Johnson, to me, played with a cleaner touch. He was used to playing with other people, and Blind Lemon never did. In fact, that is the way I started. Playing by myself, your timing is not very good. The beat, yes, but the time for is playing with someone else. For instance, like if a blues was 12 bars, I probably just started feeling good about 13 and a half. You understand? But the beat was there. For instance, like if you was playing, and you change whenever you feel like it. But if you got some other musicians playing with you, they expected, you know, like about 5 bars. They want to hear a 4 chord or something like that. Well, just before I went in the Army, about 42, I think, I heard of a guy called T-Bone Walker. And that was the first electric guitar I ever heard. And I heard the sound like this. He was playing like dominant 9th chords, which was something I'd never heard about, you know. And it would go like this. Like that. So later on, I was acquainted with jazz by listening to Benny Goodman's band, and they had a guy called Charlie Christian. And oh boy, did that do it, you know. Charlie Christian was a master, I think, on diminished chords. And then he'd run maybe a diminished something like this. That kind of thing, you know, and it'd keep you doing this. So I liked them, and that started me to liking jazz a bit. And then later, a friend of mine that was in the Army, when he came back to Mississippi where I was, he brought some records by a fellow that I'd never heard of called Django Reinhardt. So he said, I know you like guitar, so I brought a couple records back, and I want you to listen to this fella. And then I heard something that sounded like this. So clear, you know, much clearer than what I'm playing. And I fell in love with him. That really blew my mind. And from there until this day, those people that I've mentioned have been my idols. Now, but I think what caused me to play the way I do, not only because I like these people so well, but I have a cousin named Booker White. And he used to play with a slide on his finger. And I could never get that. Well, I've got stupid fingers. They just wouldn't work. So in order to get somewhat the type sound that he had, I would trill my hand like that. And I think over the years I've done pretty good with it. I still don't have it right, but I could just keep trilling it like that, sustain the sound. Now this is not proper as far as playing guitar, because you should be able to, you know, trill your hand like this. You know, not that way. But that's the only way I can manage it. So, for instance, if I was gonna play like Blind Lemon, I would still have to use that. Because that's B.B. King now, I think, a mixture of all these people I've talked about. Music is like the hands on a clock. It goes round and round. Somebody every once in a while finds something new to add to what's been done. I don't think you really ever play any new music, because as far as my little reading, I've found that there are only 7 notes with 5 accidentals, which make 12. So all of our history, people have only played those 12 notes, but it's different ways of mixing them up that makes the sound different. I'm still searching even today for a sound, you know, like the guy that is searching for a home, you know. And I haven't been able to find that completely. I'm satisfied at times with the sound of my guitar. Not all the time, but sometimes I'm satisfied with the way it seems to sing a bit. But it is a little sound there that I hear, but I can't tell anybody about it. I don't know how. But if I ever get it, I'll know.